This video is going to go through the Chapter 3 review and test from the book. So if you look at the first grouping of questions, they're vocab questions, okay? So these are based on the definitions and stuff that you know from the chapter. So number 1 says copy and complete. The 2 lines that do not intersect and are not coplanar are called what? These would be skew lines. If they don't intersect and are coplanar, then they'd be parallel lines. That's the difference between the two. Number 2 says compare alternate interior angle pairs and consecutive interior angle pairs. So if I actually use this graph, alternate interior would be like 2 and 5 or 3 and 6. Same side interior or consecutive interior would be 4 and 6. So 4 and 6 lie on the same side of the transversal. 4 and 5 are on opposite sides of the transversal, but they're both interior angles. 3, 4, 5, and 6 just ask you to complete the statement using the figure at the right. So corresponding angles, 1 would correspond to 5. 3, alternate interior with 6. 4 would be consecutive interior, so same side interior with 6. And 7 would be alternate exterior with 2. Number 7 and 8 just say to identify whether it's slope-intercept form or standard form. So slope-intercept is your y equals mx plus b, which would be like 8. And 7 is standard form, which is the ax plus by equals c. Number 3, says think of each segment in the rectangular box at the right as part of a line. So you want to be able to identify perpendicular lines, parallel lines, skew. For example, perpendicular to AB would be AG, BH, AC, BD, GE, and, oh, sorry, not those. Not that last one. Perpendicular to AB. Parallel to AB would be CD and EF, because although they're not on the plane that's combined or created right now, you can technically connect these sides to make that a plane. And then skew, so skew would be non-coplanar and non-intersecting. Skew to AB could be CE, could be CF, could be DF, could be GE, could be HF. And then plane EFG, which is the bottom, would be parallel to ABC, which is the top. Here's just a quick extra example. So if you were to see it like this, okay, if you could identify what's perpendicular to IJ, which would be HI, JK, JN, and IM. Parallel to IJ would be JK, MN, LO. Skew to IJ would be KO, HL, OM, LM. And then a plane parallel to HIM, which is the top, would be the bottom, which is KJN. Okay, these exercises say, think of the segment in the diagram of a rectangular box as part of a line. Which lines or lines contain point N and appear to fit the description? So perpendicular to QR, but containing point N would be NR. Line parallel to QR, which again is on the bottom, containing N would be NP. Skew to QR, which again, same spot, would be JN. And then a plane parallel to LMQ, which is the, LMQ, which is the back edge, would be LMQ, LMQ is this right side. Parallel to it would be the left side, the JKPN or JKN. 3-2 is all about your parallel lines. If the lines were parallel, then my alternate interior corresponding and alternate exterior all congruent, and same and consecutive interior would be supplementary. So in 13, these two would be congruent because of vertical angles, and then 1 and 2 would be congruent because of alternate interior, or 54 and 2 would be congruent because of corresponding. 14, 95 and 2 would be alternate interior, which would be the same, and then 1 and 2, or 1 and 95 would be supplementary, so that'd be 85. 15, 135 and 1 would be corresponding. 1 and 2 would be linear pair, so this would be 45. 16's now just giving you variables in the case, so 35 and y would be the same, and then 35 and x would be linear pair, so subtract that 35 from 180 and you get that 145. 17, so 2 ways to do this, 48, and 5x minus 17 would be alternate interior, which means they're equal to each other. Add the 17. X is 13. And then 48 and y would be same side interior, so would, or which is supplementary, and so would those two angles. They'd be linear pair, but they'd be supplementary. So y plus 48 would equal 180, and y would equal 132. And 18, 2y would equal 58. So y would be 29. 58 and 2x would be a linear pair, so they'd add up to 180. 2x would equal 122, and x would equal 61. 19 says sketch the rectangular flag of Puerto Rico is shown at the right. Find the measure of angle 1 if the measure of angle 3 is 55. And then justify each step in your argument. So if 3 is 55, which would be given, these would be complementary, which would mean they'd add up to 90 degrees. So angle 2 plus angle 3 are complementary. So angle 2 plus angle 3 would add up to 90 degrees. If angle 3 is 55, which is what you started with, angle 2 plus 55 would equal 90. Angle 2 would equal 35. And in this diagram, angle 2 and angle 1 would be corresponding angles. So angle 2 would equal angle 1, meaning angle 1 would be 35 degrees. Okay, 3.3 was now proving lines are parallel. So this is where if alternate interior are congruent, if same side interior or consecutive interior are supplementary, alternate exterior are congruent or corresponding angles are congruent, and the lines are parallel. So it says what value of x would make m parallel to m. If m is parallel to m, then these two are consecutive interior, which means they're supplementary. So x plus 73 would equal 180. Subtract that 73 and x would equal 107. For 21, these are alternate exterior. So if the lines are parallel, then those would be equal to each other. 133. And 22, these don't have a special relationship, but there's two ways to look at it. Either this would be 3x, and then these two angles would be supplementary, so 3x plus 2x plus 20 would equal 180, 5x would equal 160, x would equal 32, or for this to be 3x, this would be 3x, and then these would be a linear pair. No matter how you look at that, they would still be set. The sum of them would still equal 180. 3.4 was the start of slopes. So we talked about how to find slopes given points, how to find slope given a graph, which would be rise over run, how to find the slope of a vertical line or horizontal. So vertical would be undefined and horizontal would be 0. These questions ask to tell if the points are parallel, perpendicular, or neither of the lines. So if they're parallel, the slopes would be the same. If they're perpendicular, they're the opposite reciprocal. So to find the slope of a line, I do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So in this case, negative 5 minus 12 would be over 7 minus 8, and I'd get negative 17 over negative 8, which is 17. Slope of line 2 would be 2 minus 3 over 8 minus a negative 9, which becomes plus 9, negative 1 over 17. So these are definitely opposite. One's positive, one's negative, and they're the reciprocal, which would mean that these are perpendicular. For 24, the slope of the first line, 4 minus a negative 4 becomes plus 4, negative 1 minus 3 is 8 over negative 4, or negative 2. Second line would be 1 minus 7 over 5 minus 2, negative 6 over 3, which is negative 2. These have the same line, or same slope, so they're parallel. Here's some extra examples on the side here. So if these lines are parallel, then these alternate exterior angles would be congruent, so I would set them equal to each other. Solve for x, and you'd get 41. And here, find the slope of each line. So this time you can count up 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the slope of that one is 1/5. This one, 1, 2, over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this one, up 1, over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these two are the ones that matches, which means A is parallel to C. Okay, 3.5 was all the algebra review on slopes of lines and equations. So you need to know how to graph an equation. You need to know how to find the find the equation based on a graph, and you know how to find it given information. So for 25, it says write the equations of the lines that pass through the point P and are parallel and perpendicular to the line with the given equation. So if I was already given M, and let's say M was 2, and I was given a point 2, negative 3. There's two options. I can either take and plug this into point slope, which is y minus y1 equals x times x minus x1. And I would take that and plug it in. Y minus a negative 3, which becomes plus 3. Slope, which we said was 2, x minus x1, which is 2. And then I would distribute the 2 and subtract the 3. The other option here is slope-intercept form of the line. So I would plug in, this is my x and this is my y, that's my m, solve for b. So I'd get negative 3 equals m, which is 2, times x, which is 2, plus b, negative 3 equals 4, plus b, subtract the 4. B is negative 7, so then I have to plug back in just the m, which was 2, x, and the b, which is negative 7. So either way you get the same answer. I want you to do whatever you're the most comfortable with. Okay, but this, instead of just saying straight out that the slope is whatever the value is, it's giving you a point, but it's also telling you that the slope is A, parallel to this line. So if my equation is y equals mx plus b, this one's already in that format, then whatever's in front of the x is the m. So the slope of this line is 6, and the slope of a line that's parallel to it would also be 6. Here's my point. I'm going to plug it in as the point slope. Y minus y1 would be plus 1 equals m times x minus x1, which is 3. Subtract the 1, y would equal 6x minus 19. And then B says find the slope of a line that's perpendicular to it, or find the equation where it's perpendicular. So if this is still my original slope, perpendicular would be negative 1/6. Still use this point, so y minus a negative 1 would be plus 1 equals negative 1/6 x minus 3, y plus 1, negative 1/6 x plus 3 over 6, which becomes 1/2. And then subtract the 1, negative 1/6 x. So I've got 1/2 minus 1, which is 2 halves, and I get negative 1 half. Okay, 26 is the same set of directions. This time, they're not giving it to you in slope-intercept form, so the first thing I have to do is rearrange it so the y is on the side by itself. So if I subtract the 4x, goes to the other side, divide by 7, I get y equals negative 4/7 x plus 2/7. So the slope of this line is negative 4/7. The slope of a line parallel to it would be the same. So I use this point, y minus y1 equals mx minus x1 would be minus a negative 6 or plus 6. Y minus 5 would equal negative 4/7 x minus 24/7, and then add the 5. So y would equal negative 4/7 x. 5 over 1 would have to get multiplied by 7. This would become 35 over 7. Negative 24 plus 35 would be a plus 11 over 7. So that would be if it's parallel, and then if it's perpendicular to this slope, or to this slope, then my reciprocal would be 7/4. Negative reciprocal would be 7/4. So then I would do y minus a negative 5, or sorry, y minus 5 equals 7/4 x minus a negative 6. Y minus 5 would equal 7/4 x plus 42/4, and then I'd add the 5. Y would equal 7/4 x. Zoom in on that so we've got space on this side. So plus 5 over 1 would get multiplied by 4, and I'd get 24. 42 plus 20 would be 62/4, which is going to get reduced to 31 halves. And that would be if it's perpendicular. This one says use the distance formula to find the distance between the two parallel lines. Round to the nearest 10. So we're actually going to leave it as a square root. We don't need to round. So what appears to be true is that it looks like this is a perpendicular segment here, which is what I would need in order to show the distance. To confirm that, I would find the slope of this line using y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I can use these as my 1s and these as my 2s, although it doesn't matter. 3 minus 6, negative 1 minus 0, which is negative 3 over negative 1, which is 3. And then the slope of this line, I would use these points. 2 minus 3 over 2 minus a negative 1 becomes 2 plus 1, negative 1/3. So because these are opposite reciprocals, I know those segments are perpendicular. And then I would find the distance using these 2 points. Distance formula is x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So let me clear this off. This is my x1, y1, x2, y2. So the square root of 2 minus a negative 1 plus 2 minus 3, which is 3 squared plus negative 1 squared, 9 plus 1, which is the square root of 10. Which only breaks down to 2 and 5, nothing repeats, so it stays as 10. Do the same thing over here, 28. The slope of this line would be 8 minus 6 over 3 minus a negative 2, which is 2. 2/5. The slope of this segment here, 1 minus 6 over 0 minus a negative 2, negative 5 halves. So it is perpendicular. To find the distance, I'm going to do the distance formula using those 2 points. So 0 minus a negative 2 becomes plus 2. 1 minus 6, 2 squared plus negative 5 squared, 4 plus 25, which is the square root of 29. Again, doesn't break down that much time, so that one stays how it is. Here Here's an extra example. So extra example 5 says write the equation of the line passing through the point 6, -4. That's perpendicular to the line M with equation y equals 3x minus 5. So the slope of this one is 3, which means the slope of a line perpendicular to it would be -1/3. Use that with this point. So y minus a -4 becomes +4 equals M, which is -1/3 x minus 6. Y plus 4 equals -1/3 x plus 6/3, which would become 2 minus 4, and I get -1/3 x minus 2. So if you were to use the y equals mx plus b format, y is -4, m is -1/3, x is 6, -4 would equal -6/3, which is -2. Add the 2, and b is -2. So then I have to plug back in the m, which was -1/3, and the b, which is -2. So again, either way you get the same answer. Okay, so now let's look at your chapter test. So if you look at the top, this is just identifying what these pairs are. 1 and 8 would be alternate exterior. 2 and 6 corresponding. 3 and 5 consecutive interior. 4 and 5 alternate interior. 3 and 7 corresponding, and 6 and 3 alternate interior. Looking at these these parallel lines, 1 and 140 would be corresponding, so those would be congruent. 8, this is 50 here. 18 minus 22, those would be alternate interior, so they'd be equal to each other. So 18x would equal 72, and x would equal 4. For number 9, these are alternate exterior. They would be equal to each other. 107 would equal 4x plus 11. Subtract the 11. 96 would equal 4x, and x would equal 24. Okay, 10, 11, and 12 say find the values that would make m parallel to n. So these are same side interior, which would mean they'd have to add up to 180. Subtract that 137 from 180 and you get 43. These would have to be corresponding, which would mean they'd be equal to each other. Add the 2, they actually get 2x equals 128 and x equals 64. 12, 73 would go here, and then these would be same side interior. So 73 plus x plus 17 would equal 180, or consecutive interior, sorry. So combine your like terms here. That would be 90 plus x equals 180. Subtract the 90 and x would equal 90. 13, 14, and 15 to say, just to pass, find the slope of a line that passes through the points. So you would do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So 4 minus a -1 becomes +1. And 3 minus 3 means 0's in the denominator, and when 0's in the denominator, it's undefined. -3 minus 7 over -1 minus 2 is -10 over -3, which becomes 10/3. 12 minus 5 over -6 minus 0 would be 7 over -7. No, sorry, 7 over -6, which is -6. 16, 17, 18 say to find the point of a line, or sorry, find the equation of a line that passes through the given point and has slope of m. So let's do 16 first. This would be my x1, y1, that's my slope. Y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. So y minus 4 equals 3x minus a -2 becomes +2. Y minus 4 equals 3x plus 6. Add the 4. 3x plus 10. 17, y minus 12 equals negative 0.2, x minus 7. Y minus 12 would equal negative 0.2x plus 7 times 0.2 would be 14. Move the decimal 1, so 1.4. And then add the 12. Y would equal negative 0.2x plus 13.4. And 18, y minus y1 would equal m x minus x1 at the 5. Okay, 19, 20, and 21 say find the equation of a line that passes through P is perpendicular line with the given equation. So for 19, the slope of that equation would be 2, which means perpendicular would be negative 1/2. And then plug that in with 1, 3. So y minus 3 would equal negative 1/2 x minus 1, negative 1/2 x plus 1/2. Add the 3, so 3 over 1 becomes 6 over 2, and this would be y equals negative 1/2 x plus 7/2. 20, slope of a line perpendicular, so that's negative 1, perpendicular would be positive 1. And I get y minus 2 equals 1 times x minus 0. Y minus 2 equals x minus 0. Add the 2 and y equals x plus 2. This has to be solved for y first, so subtract the x. Divide or multiply by negative 1. The slope of this line is 1. The slope of a line that's perpendicular would be negative 1. So then y minus a negative 3 becomes plus 3. Negative 1, x minus 2, y plus 3, negative x plus 2. Subtract that 3. Okay, clean up some of this mess. Okay, 22, this is all using those perpendicular theorems from 3-6. So if AB is perpendicular to BC, then this would be a right angle, and so would this. I would take 68 and subtract it from 90, and I'm left with 22, which would be 8, which would be the measure of x. These two would have to add up to 90 degrees. 3x plus 51 would equal 90. 3x would equal 39, and x would equal 13. And 24, these two would be 90, so x plus 8x plus 9 would equal 90. 9x would equal 81, and x would equal 9. The last question on here says, the rental cost, the graph at the right models the cost of renting a moving van, write an equation of the line, then find the cost of renting a van for a 100-mile trip. So based on this graph, this point here is my y-intercept, so 30 is actually my b. And then this point gives me the other point, so I can do the slope. I can either count up and over, or I can use y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So 60 minus 30 would be 50 minus 0, and I'd get 30 over 50. The zeros cancel, and my slope is 3/5. So then my equation would be y equals the slope, which is 3/5 x, plus 30, which is the b. So the cost of, the next part says to find the cost of renting a van for a 100-mile trip. So the miles is my x value. I just have to plug that in. So y would equal 3/5 times 100 plus 30. 5 goes into 120 times. 3 times 20 is 60 plus 30, which would be $90. So a couple other things that are not on this review, but you want to make sure you review is the proofs, all the proofs from 3.3 and 3.6. So I posted some extra proof practice so that you can get that in. Graphing using intercepts. So if I had 2x plus 5y equals 10, and I asked you to find the intercepts, I would plug, remember you plug 0 in for x to find the y-intercept. So this would cancel. I'd get 5y equals 10. Y would equal 2. So 0, 2. And then plug in 0 into y to find the x-intercept. So this would go away, and I'd get 2x equals 10. X would equal 5. And then I can graph using those intercepts. So 0, 2, 5, 0. Connect your points. You could get the intercepts from a graph. So if this was reversed, I would know that this is 0, 2, and this was 5, 0. And then I can get the slope and get an equation, work backwards. Slope I would know is down 2 and to the right 5, so it's negative 2/5. And then take that and a point, so either point, which I already have the b, would give me the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. We also talked about the steepness of a line. So if I was comparing two lines, the slope of two lines, a slope of a line that's like, 5 would be more steep than the slope of a line that's 1/2. So I would review, again, all your theorems and postulates from the beginning of the chapter because it's been a little while since we've seen those. Do some extra practice on the proofs. I posted the key to the proof worksheet. And good luck.